Welcome in to another exciting episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today, I have some Dynasty sells. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So, the first player is Jayden Reed, and he's in the news, but not for good reasons. He's dealing with a Jones fracture in his foot. He claims he will be ready to play week 1, and perhaps that's true. But we know that the Jones fracture heals extremely poorly. Reed will not be ready to be 100% or anywhere near it anytime soon, which means his value could go down. Now, let's look at what we got last year from Reed. It wasn't that good. In 17 games, 55 catches, 857 yards, 6 touchdowns, 75 targets, just 75 targets, 20 carries, 163 yards, and touchdown. He averaged 3.2 catches and 50.4 receiving yards a game. It's interesting compared to his 2023 numbers from his rookie year. Similar yardage, way lower volume, and way fewer targets last year. Now, he averaged 11.6 PPR points a game, 41st among wide receivers. I keep hearing these numbers quoted that Jayden Reed was the wide receiver 26 or whatever last year. Some podcasts are saying this, but that doesn't matter. He played all 17 games. I don't care where you finished among wide receivers. I care what you were in points per game. He was 41st. He was not relevant. He was not helpful. He actively hurt you if you started him every week. So this is really what Jayden Reed was. He was wide receiver 41 in points per game. That is what you had last year. Now let's talk about this year. So for me, I see a lot of issues with Jayden Reed. Number one, I mentioned this earlier. He's not going to be 100% open 2025 or anytime soon. And that's dangerous for someone like Reed. Reed is relying on efficiency. He's not a target hog. He doesn't have 100, even 100 targets, 120, 130, 75 last year. So you're relying on efficiency. You're relying on him to be an actually good NFL wide receiver. And I'm not sure we're going to see that coming off this Jones fracture. And he's paced for just 61 catches and 87 targets, a 17-game pace in his 2-year career. That's not a good pace. That's not low volume. It's low volume. And if the big plays are zapped by the Jones fracture, what's left? He had a 16.2% target share and a 20.6% target rate last year, 60th among wide receivers. So there's nothing there. So you're relying on these big plays. Now, Matthew Golden and Tucker Kraft have been highlighted for big roles in this year's offense, we've heard. But Reed has been limited with the injury. So we haven't heard about Reed playing a big role because he's been limited. Is Reed going to be involved in 2 wide receiver sets? No. He's, if anything, going to be playing less with this injury. So I'm just not liking the value of Reed. Now, what do you do about it? I'm not saying, I want people to hear what I'm like, hear the right thing here. I'm not saying that Jayden Reed's career is over. I'm saying that he's not going back to being a high-end dynasty asset. That's not happening. I'm okay selling low before it gets lower. That's the thing. It's always a value game. So I have some ideas of 3 trades here. Number 1, Tony Pollard in a 26-second. Now, you might say, wow, buying a running back, that's not like you. But for me, the second and Reed, maybe I'd lean Reed, but Pollard is enough of another piece that I would take that side. The next deal is easier. Reed, Garrett Wilson, 26-second for Puka Nacua. These other pieces don't make up the gap between Garrett Wilson and Puka Nacua. So I would take Puka Nacua here easily. And then the last, Reed in a 26-third for Zay Flowers. Now, I have some issues with Zay Flowers, but if I could only give up a third to go from Reed, who I have like no hope for, to Zay Flowers, where I do think there are some cases where Zay Flowers could be valuable, I would do that and move on very quickly from Jayden Reed. Now, the next player, and I think I've talked about Tyreek Hill before, but I think we talk about it again because it's only looking worse and worse and worse and worse. I would put him in a category of player where I don't want to see 2025. I don't want to open 2025. I don't want to see what Tyreek Hill has. I want to get him off my dynasty team immediately. Why do I want to get him off my dynasty team immediately? So last year, he had 81 catches, 959 yards, 6 touchdowns, 123 targets, 4.8 catches, and 56.4 yards a game. Worst season since his rookie year, almost cut his 2023 production in half. And he struggled both with and without Tua, breaking 100 yards just 3 times. However, some might say it was all Tua's fault. Because Tua missed time, Tyreek Hill was awful in the games that Tua missed, so he must have been good in the games that Tua played. And not quite. He was better. He averaged 5.1 catches and 63.1 yards a game in the 11 games Tua played. He scored all 6 of his touchdowns in these games. That's better. But for a 31-year-old dynasty wide receiver, that is not what you want. This is not going to be a return on investment from Tyreek Hill. If he gives you this, he needs to give you a lot more than that. And overall, he averaged 12.8 PPR points a game, 31st among wide receivers. But even if you get just the Tua games, you're still not having a wide receiver 1. You're nowhere near it. You're more in the wide receiver 2, low-end, mid-range. So there are major concerns here with Tyreek Hill. Now, there are a lot of problems with Tyreek Hill. So we're going to go through all of the problems. Last year, he averaged just 1.92 yards per route run, 38th among wide receivers. It wasn't good, and it was massive drop-off from other years where he was one of the most efficient wide receivers in the NFL. Now, what about the yards per team pass attempt? That wasn't good either. So even when the Dolphins just didn't pass the ball, Hill still wasn't good on the passing attempts that they had. 1.62 yards per team pass attempt, 44th. So that's not good either. He turned 31 in March. He's older. Didn't do well last year. The advanced stats and traditional stats say he's in decline. There was an injury last year, but he wasn't great even in the games Tua played. He still wasn't a league winner or the old Tyreek Hill. So there's been a lot of issues. And now there's another problem. He's been managing an oblique injury for all of training camp. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to play. He returned to practice on Thursday. Seems like he's going to play week 1. But he played 17 games last year. He didn't deliver because he had an injury. Now there's another problem, a new problem. He's 31 years old. I'm not interested in another problem. We already have a problem. I don't need, there's so many problems. Now a new problem. I'm not dealing with someone who's 31, who was bad last year, who now has another problem. Why would I want that? I could just have someone else in Dynasty. There's no reason to have Tyreek Hill. Then there's just yet another issue. He's not going to be on the Dolphins next year. There's an easy out. They can save $36 million by releasing him. He has a $51 million cap hit for 2026. So that's not going to work. He's either going to be extended, traded, or released. Released, I think, is the most likely, but extended, traded are also possibilities. But there's nothing, the guaranteed money is up. This is the last year of guaranteed money for Tyreek Hill. There's no guarantees in his contract after this year. So I do think there are some people, and there are not as many as there were, but there are some people who think that Hill is going to give you old Tyreek Hill. I see that as very unlikely. I think it's a question to me of, is Hill okay, like he was in the Tua games last year, or bad, in which case this is really bad. So the thing is, Tyreek Hill's 31. If it doesn't happen immediately, people will panic and the sell value will be gone. So here are some ways you can get off of Tyreek Hill that I saw in the trade database. Tyreek Hill in a second for Rashee Rice. Interesting buy on Rashee Rice. I mean, Rashee Rice is 6 years younger than Tyreek Hill. To only give up a second, third swap to go from Hill to Rice, I'm doing that all day. The next, Hill and Zach Ertz for Chris Olave. I'd do that. Take my chances on Olave bouncing back. And then the last, Hill for 26 first or 27 first. There were many versions of this. Some had other pieces added. Some had other pieces subtracted. There were many versions, but this is probably the most likely thing you can do. Try to get off of Tyreek Hill while you still can, because I'm not sure you're going to be able to do that after the first few weeks. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using the code TylerYT50. You can get my rankings, access to Discord, write-ups, Patreon-only videos, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos. Just to be clear, exactly what's included at every tier is detailed on the Patreon, patreon.com/fantasyadvice. So just read that and you'll see exactly what's offered at each tier. Tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with the discount. And now is a great time to sign up. A lot of people have signed up in the last few weeks. This has been the most signups over a period of time that I've ever had. So I really appreciate those who've done so. Now, if you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon videos on the channel. I'm planning to do another one on Sunday, detailing kind of what the Patreon looks like in season and what that's going to look like as we go through the NFL season, what I'm going to be doing on there. And yeah, like I said, patreon.com/fantasy advice. The link's right here. Code TylerYT50 gets you 50% off your first month. I've had many people join. I'm looking forward to more. And it's a great way to help you win your dynasty leagues and also help you with start sit, which can apply to all your leagues as well as we get into the season. With that said, I'll move into my next player. Now, my next player, DeAndre Swift, and we do this every year. I've talked about Swift many times. We have a running back where if we do the projections, we can't see where the other touches are going to come from. We can't see, this was Zamir White last year. We can't see where the other touches are going to come from. Well, he's going to get all the touches. Oh, who knows? Somehow those other touches always appear. Always. It's called a dead zone running back. And that's what DeAndre Swift is very clearly. Last year, he was bad. 253 carries, 959 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3.8 yards a carry, 42 catches for 386 yards. Not good. He offered empty volume and nothing else. Not efficient as a runner. He averaged 12.6 PPR points a game, 21st among running backs. You might say, well, that's good, right? That sounds good. It's not good. He was almost 1.5 points below the RB20. So he was the first running back in the meh range. He didn't help you win anything. He didn't help you win. He was not helpful. He was not valuable. He was meh. Now, it gets worse. So last year, he averaged 1.8 yards after contact per attempt, 35th among 42 qualifying running backs. Luckily, this was not outside the norm for him. This was actually tied for his career best mark. He is, and always has been, bad. DeAndre Swift has always been bad. He is a bad running back. He is bad, and that's never changed. As a runner, as a pass catcher, he's okay. But as a runner, he is bad and has always been bad. Now, interestingly, let's look at 2022. He had Ben Johnson as his offense coordinator on the Lions. He had 99 carries and 48 catches. So the receiving work was there, but he was benched for Jamal Williams, who was terrible. Efficiency-wise, he was awful. And Swift averaged 5.5 yards a carry, but only 1.7 yards after contact. So Ben Johnson did a really good job. He gave Swift lots of yards before contact. DeAndre Swift sucked in doing nothing with that. He added nothing. He was not good. Seemed good at a glance if you just look at it at a glance, but he wasn't actually good. Ben Johnson put him in a receiving role where he was decent, but the volume was not there. Now, it seems like his volume's secure, but I have a lot of issues here. Number one, the Bears have a ridiculous number of receiving weapons. I am not sure that we're going to even duplicate the 42 catches DeAndre Swift had last year, let alone more than that. I don't think it's going to be 50 or 60 catches. I think it's going to be the same or less. And then, again, the other volume will come from somewhere. I know Roschon Johnson and Kyle Monangai don't look appealing right now, but we see this every year. It might take a couple of weeks, but we know Ben Johnson does not want to give a massive workload to DeAndre Swift. We know that. We've seen it already happen. It's not projecting. It's not talking about maybe. We know it already happened. He already benched DeAndre Swift for a very inefficient Jamal Williams. We already know that. So, in terms of selling DeAndre Swift, he's a must sell. I have no interest in him at all. He's 26, bad, guaranteed money in his contract's almost up. Why I would want him on my dynasty team, I have no idea. I don't see much upside with DeAndre Swift. So, I saw 3 deals, and these were the 3 reasonable ones. There were some very unreasonable ones. I get criticized for putting unreasonable trades in here. There were some very unreasonable ones that were ridiculous, but whatever. DeAndre Swift and Sam Darnold for Nico Collins. That was in there in a super flex. I understand why someone would do that. They need a quarterback and running back. But of course, I would easily take Nico Collins. Swift and a third for George Pickens. Whatever I think about George Pickens, I like George Pickens more than this. I think George Pickens has some potential to be a valuable dynasty asset after this year. I think DeAndre Swift has no potential to be a valuable dynasty asset after this year. And then DeAndre Swift for Trey Harris and Jarquez Hunter. Interesting. I mean, Trey Harris is kind of slumping right now. Jarquez Hunter is kind of fallen off the radar, but I still think the value is on that side. And again, these were the reasonable ones. There were some unreasonable ones, multiple instances of a first for DeAndre Swift or more. Obviously, those would be even better than these, but I chose to give a few more reasonable examples to get rid of DeAndre Swift while you still can. So I've got a couple of Patreon questions, and then I'll wrap up the show. Thoughts on Sam Laporta? Do you think he can show us this year he's an elite tight end earning targets? Or are you worried that Jameson Williams relegates him to the large group of non-difference making tight ends? Oh, I think it's somewhere in between, personally. I don't think Sam Laporta is going to be a Brock Bowers type or Trey McBride, a tight end that really legitimately earns targets. But I also don't think Sam Laporta is what I would call a backup plan. Like, like Kate Auden, or, I mean, that's kind of low, but someone like that who's like a clear backup plan. They're not a primary plan. Jake Ferguson, Jake Ferguson is not even the 2B in that offense. He's going to be the 3 now. So basically what I think is the most likely is that Amon-Ra remains the clear 1, and Laporta is probably, in terms of yards, the 2B to Jameson Williams. Can he still be fantasy productive as the 2B? Absolutely. He can still be fantasy relevant. Is he going to be a high-end tight end? I doubt it. So again, I think it's kind of in the middle here. I think kind of what we saw down the stretch last year is, after he came back from the injury, is kind of similar to what we're going to see this year. Pretty good. Nothing amazing or league winning, but pretty good. And then the last question, and I like this one a lot. When do you make the decision to push all in for a potential championship? This includes buying running backs and other depth pieces for future draft capital. Okay. So it's a complex question, because in terms of buying running backs, the time at which I like to do that is during the rookie draft. Either by drafting them or by trading my picks away at a high value for unwanted veteran running backs. Jordan Mason was popular on that list. Zach Charbonnet was one. Trey Benson was one that I thought was interesting in some spots. Even Travis Etienne, who was being given away for free at times. But that's only able to be done during the rookie draft. So I'm not often buying running backs now, like pretty much never. So I either would be buying them, I would have already bought them when they were cheaper during rookie season, or I'm waiting to see if my team is really good. Now, of course, it depends on how good your team is. It depends on what price you're getting on the depth pieces for future draft capital. I mean, if someone's going to give me a piece for free or cheap, I'll do it. Right? I mean, I have no issue with that if the price is reasonable. If you're going to trade a second for Tony Pollard right now, who I think is going to be high-end RB2 to open the season, okay, I'm fine with that. Whereas if you're going to trade a second for, someone a lot lower down, like Travis Etienne, I'm not going to do that. Right? So again, very context-based. And this is the type of thing, like, this is what the Patreon is for. I'll look at your team and tell you. I'll look at the trade and tell you, is it a good price or not? Would I do it or not? So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors, but how good your team is, price of the trade, who you're buying, and, that kind of stuff is how you make that decision. You have to look at all of those factors. Now, if you liked the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, is available on the Patreon. Fantasy football content year-round, including Dynasty, redraft ranks I've got right now, and starts it during the season. 50% discount at all tiers using the code TylerYT50. You can click on the link in the top right corner, patreon.com/fantasyadvice, and sign up. Every sign up helps support my independent content. And again, I want to thank everyone who signed up so far, because there's been a lot of you in the last couple of weeks. But with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.